What if the most powerful spiritual truth is hidden in plain sight, not in temples, not in mantras, not in books, but in something so simple? You've overlooked it your entire life. You've been taught to seek, go higher, dig deeper, become a better. But what if every step forward has only taken you further away? Zen doesn't give you answers. It steals your questions. It doesn't promise heaven, power, or bliss. It offers something far more dangerous, a mirror, and in that mirror you'll find a terrifying possibility, that you were never lost. You just stopped paying attention. This isn't a philosophy. It's a direct experience. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let's begin the path. You've unknowingly walked your whole life. What if everything you've been doing to find yourself is the very reason you feel lost? In a world where every path is about acquiring more knowledge, more peace, more control, Zen dares to offer you nothing, no promises, no steps, no destination, just this moment, right now, exactly as it is. That's what makes Zen so radical, so unsettling. It doesn't offer you a ladder to climb. It cuts it down and then asks, who's climbing? Zen isn't a belief system. It's not even a philosophy in the traditional sense. It's an experience, a confrontation, a mirror. And when you look into that mirror, you don't find enlightenment waiting for you. You find everything you've used to avoid it. Your thoughts, your questions, your spiritual ambition. Zen tears through all of it. Unlike other traditions that build intricate maps of the mind or charts of the chakras, Zen simply hands you a question and then watches you burn in it, because Zen knows something that's hard to accept. The truth can't be taught. It can only be realized. And realization can't be chased. It can only happen when the chasing ends. You might be wondering, isn't that what all spiritual paths say? Not quite. Where others give you methods, rituals, and visualizations, Zen points at the sky and says, just look. Where others build temples to remind you of the sacred, Zen tells you to sit in silence and stare at a wall. Where others, they become enlightened. Zen says there's no self to enlighten. This is why Zen has often been called the pathless path. Because it isn't a journey forward, it's a stripping away, a ruthless excavation of everything that clouds your natural awareness. But don't mistake this simplicity for softness. Zen is sharp, it's precise, and it cuts through illusions with terrifying efficiency. You don't read Zen, you absorb it. You don't follow Zen, you encounter it. And when it strikes, it's not with comfort, it's with clarity. Zen doesn't tell you what to think. It doesn't even tell you not to think. It just asks, what is this right now, before the thought arises? This is where it gets truly profound, because Zen isn't trying to give you something new. It's trying to show you what's already here, beneath all the noise. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're not missing anything. You've simply forgotten how to see without interpreting. Zen is the art of seeing clearly, not spiritually, not philosophically, directly, like hearing a bell and only hearing the bell, like tasting tea and only tasting the tea, not naming it, not judging it, just being it. That's the secret no one tells you. You don't need to add anything to reach enlightenment. You need to subtract everything that isn't true, and that begins not with effort, but with presence. Zen isn't a mountain to climb. It's the silence underneath your footsteps. It's not the flame. It's the space the flame illuminates. And when you finally stop grasping, when you sit, not to achieve, but simply to sit, you begin to remember, not who you should become, but what you've always been. Zen didn't start as Zen. It began as a quiet ripple in the vast ocean of human seeking, long before it became a word, a school, or a lineage. It was simply a way of seeing. And that way of seeing began, like so many great awakenings, with a man who sat beneath a tree and refused to move until he understood. Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. He didn't discover Zen, but he planted its seed, and that seed carried one radical truth. Suffering ends not through belief, but through direct experience. The Buddha taught no dogma, no salvation through faith, just a simple invitation to wake up from the illusions that cloud our perception. But here's where the story gets interesting. When Buddhism reached China centuries later, it collided with something just as powerful: Taoism. Taoism didn't seek to define the universe, it sought to flow with it. It revered stillness, paradox, the mystery of nature. It whispered truths in riddles and bowed to the ineffable. So when Buddhist thought met Taoist insight, something new emerged. Not a fusion, but a transformation. This was the birth of Chan, the Chinese ancestor of Zen. Chan didn't cling to scriptures. It didn't worship statues. It focused on one thing: the direct transmission of awakening from mind to mind. No need for words, just presence, just silence, just the full recognition of what is. And then, in the 6th century, something unexpected happened. A foreign monk, silent, strange, fierce, crossed the mountains from India into China. His name was Bodhidharma. He didn't come with texts. He didn't seek disciples. He came with a gaze so penetrating, legend says he stared at a cave wall for 9 years without moving. Why? Because to him, truth wasn't something to be taught. It was something to be embodied, and to embody it, one had to burn away every distraction, every illusion, every craving. Bodhidharma introduced zazen, seated meditation, as the essence of practice. Not as a tool, not as a technique, but as the very expression of awakening itself. He didn't teach enlightenment. He became it, and his silence spoke louder than any sutra. Over time, Chan grew, adapted, and spread across China, always holding the same flame. Awakening is not found in scriptures or rituals, but in naked awareness. Then, in the 12th century, that flame traveled again, this time to Japan, and there it took on a new name, Zen. But make no mistake, this wasn't just a change in language. Zen in Japan evolved into something unique, a culture of simplicity, an aesthetic of presence, an art of emptiness. Here, Zen found its expression in unexpected places: tea ceremonies, ink calligraphy, rock gardens. Each stroke of the brush, each placement of a stone, each breath between sips of tea became a meditation. Zen in Japan wasn't something you practiced for an hour a day. It was something you lived in silence, in slowness, in the smallest acts, done with the deepest presence. That's the story most never hear. Zen didn't begin in temples. It began in silence, and it didn't evolve by adding complexity, but by relentlessly stripping it away, so that what remains is the one thing that never changes: this moment, unfiltered, unlabeled, unavoidable. Zen has never been about belief, it's about being. And that's why it survived wars, dynasties, and centuries of forgetfulness, because what is real cannot be destroyed. It only waits for you to notice. He arrived without warning, a wild-eyed monk from the West, uninvited, unexplained, carrying no scriptures, offering no teachings, just silence, and a gaze that saw through illusion like a blade through fog. His name was Bodhidharma, and everything about him shattered expectations. The Emperor of China, curious and proud, welcomed him and asked, "I've built temples, printed sutras, supported thousands of monks. What merit have I earned?" Bodhidharma's answer? None. The emperor was stunned, and Bodhidharma, unmoved, left the palace and disappeared into the mountains. That's where the legend begins. He found a cave, faced a wall, and meditated, not for an hour, not for a day, for 9 years, in complete stillness, in total silence. With nothing but the wall before him and the truth within him. What was he doing? He wasn't trying to reach enlightenment. He was dissolving the one who seeks it. To most people that sounds like madness, but to Bodhidharma, it was the most sane thing a human being could do, because the mind, left to itself, builds illusions. It invents stories. It creates problems just so it can solve them. And until you can sit with your own mind, without running, without fixing, without judging, you will never see what's real. Bodhidharma didn't come to spread Buddhism. He came to strip it bare. He taught that all scriptures are fingers pointing at the moon. But you'll never see the moon if you keep kissing the finger. He taught that truth is not something to believe. It's something to embody. And that embodiment begins when the search ends. Even his disciples weren't taught through words. One story says a student, desperate to be accepted, stood outside Bodhidharma's cave in a snowstorm, refusing to leave. When the snow reached his knees, he cut off his own arm to prove his sincerity. Only then did Bodhidharma turn and speak to him. His message was never gentle, but it was precise. He taught a transmission outside the scriptures. No reliance on words or rituals, just direct pointing to the human mind so it can awaken and see its true nature. He wasn't interested in building a religion. He was interested in helping people wake up. To what? To the fact that what they're searching for is the one who's searching. That's the paradox. You can't become enlightened because the one who wants enlightenment is the illusion that must dissolve. This is why Bodhidharma sat, not to escape the world, but to meet it without flinching, to confront the self that suffers, the self that seeks, the self that questions, and then let it fall away like dust from a mirror. He taught one thing: look directly, don't move, don't explain, just sit. In the silence, in the stillness, something will emerge. Not a vision, not a voice, but a recognition that you've never been separate from the truth. You've just been running too fast to see it. That's the legacy of Bodhidharma, not temples, not teachings, but the fierce clarity of a man who stared at a wall for 9 years until even the wall disappeared. Most people believe that practice leads to enlightenment. You sit, you breathe, you meditate, and eventually, if you're disciplined, devoted, worthy enough, you awaken. But what if that's a lie? What if the very idea of progress is the illusion? And what if the truth is far more terrifying and far more liberating? Practice, Dogen Zenji once wrote, is enlightenment, not a path toward it, not a technique to earn it, but the full, living expression of it, right now. This was the thunderclap Dogen brought to Japan. Born into a noble family in 13th century Kyoto, Dogen was brilliant, sensitive, and plagued by a single burning question. If all beings possess Buddha nature, why must we strive so hard to awaken it? No one could answer, so he left. He left the comfort of the temples, the pride of scholastic Buddhism, the prestige of lineage. He sailed to China with one intention: to find something real, and what he found broke everything he thought he knew. He met a teacher who didn't lecture, didn't interpret, didn't analyze. He simply taught one thing: zazen, seated meditation. Not as a method to become enlightened, but as the embodiment of enlightenment itself. Dogen saw it. He felt it. And something irreversible awakened in him. When he returned to Japan, he wasn't interested in founding a new school. He was interested in reminding people of what they already were, and he did it not through sermons, but through silence. Not through metaphysics, but through presence. He wrote in a style that was at once poetic and piercing, riddled with paradoxes that exploded the linear mind. To read Dogen is to stand in a storm of insight. Take this line: to study the way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be awakened by all things. Let that sink in. Zen to Dogen wasn't about escaping life. It was about entering it completely, with full awareness, with no resistance, with no division between the sacred and the mundane. For Dogen, everything was Zen, boiling rice, chopping wood, listening to the rain. He believed enlightenment is not hidden. It's constantly appearing in each moment, but we miss it because we're always looking somewhere else. He founded Soto Zen, a school that emphasized just sitting, shikantaza, not to become something new, but to realize the depth of what already is. His teachings weren't easy, they weren't comfortable, but they were undeniably alive. Dogen didn't offer you a god to worship. He handed you a bowl of rice and said, "Pay attention." He didn't say, "Free yourself." He said, "Wash your face, fold your robes, let the wind through your sleeve, be your teacher." His message was clear: awakening is not an event, it's a relationship with this moment, and it deepens every time you meet it fully. That's why Dogen matters, because he didn't romanticize enlightenment. He showed it where no one was looking, in the steam rising from a teacup, in the weight of your footsteps on a wooden floor, in the sound of silence between your thoughts. He reminded us that we are not walking towards something, we are walking with it. And when you sit, simply sit, without striving, without pretending, without chasing, you're not preparing for awakening, you're already home. In Zen, the truth isn't something you find, it's something that reveals itself when all seeking stops. And yet, paradoxically, there are practices, but they don't lead you somewhere. They strip away what's in the way of where you already are. Let's start with the one at the center of it all. Zazen means seated meditation. But that's misleading. It's not about relaxing. It's not about calming the mind. It's not even about gaining insight. Zazen is the act of being what you are, completely. When you sit in Zazen, you don't try to concentrate. You don't visualize. You don't chant mantras or count breaths. You sit. You let the breath move, naturally. You feel the body just as it is, and you allow every thought, every sensation, every flicker of consciousness to pass by, without clinging, without pushing away, without needing anything to change. It's not passive. It's radical attentiveness, a deep returning to the now over and over without struggle. You sit, and slowly the illusion of a meditator fades. There's no longer someone doing meditation. There is only sitting, only breathing, only presence. And that's the shock of Zazen. It doesn't make you enlightened. It reveals that you were never separate from enlightenment to begin with. But to feel that, you must let go of the part of you that wants to feel it. That's the koan inside the practice, the fire inside the silence. And that brings us to the next core teaching. In the West, we're trained to believe that the present is just a fleeting second, sandwiched between a past we regret and a future we chase. But Zen doesn't see it that way. Dogen once wrote, "Time is not separate from being. To be is to be time." Let that echo for a moment. The present isn't a slice of time. It's the entire universe appearing right now in this form. The rustle of leaves, the breath entering your nose, the ache in your back as you sit. It's not happening in time, it is time. And when you truly enter that realization, something cracks open, the urgency drops, the becoming dissolves. You're not late, you're not lost, you're not on your way. You are the way. The now isn't fleeting, it's eternity revealing itself in motion. That's why Zen practice has no end goal, because to seek something outside this moment is to miss the only door that was ever open, right here, right now, now. Let's talk about something strange, beautiful, disturbing, and utterly Zen koans. You may have heard them before. What is the sound of one hand clapping? Without moving your lips or tongue, say something about Zen. Show me your original face before you were born. They sound absurd, and they are. Intentionally, koans are not puzzles to solve. They are not riddles to crack with logic. They're spiritual explosives, planted in the mind to blow up the illusion that truth can be grasped by thought. When a student struggles to answer, the master doesn't explain. He may shout, strike, the floor, raise a finger, or say nothing at all, because the answer isn't a word, it's a shift in consciousness, a moment when the student drops out of conceptual mind and directly touches the real koans, push you to the edge of what your intellect can handle, and then demand you leap. They aren't meant to be understood. They're meant to undo you, and in that undoing, something extraordinary happens. The mind breaks, the ego quiets, and what remains is pure seeing, not with your eyes, not with your thoughts, but with your whole being. That's the hidden thread that ties zazen, the eternal now, and koans together. They're not separate practices. They're different doors, leading to the same silent room, the one you're already in, but forgot how to notice. It's easy to imagine Zen as something reserved for monks, something practiced in silence in temples, with incense and discipline, but that's not where Zen lives. Zen lives in motion, in action, in the precise, invisible space where attention meets reality. The real Zen master isn't the one who retreats from the world, it's the one who becomes fully present in it. Let's explore how the Zen mind expresses itself in daily life, not through theory, but through art, ritual, and the sacred ordinary. It starts with boiling water, nothing special. Until you do it with awareness, then it becomes a sacred act. In the Japanese tea ceremony, or chanoyu, every movement is intentional. Ladling the water, folding the cloth, whisking the matcha, not rushed, not performed, simply done, with total presence. This isn't just about making tea. It's about becoming the tea, becoming the steam, the sound of the pour, the shape of silence between gestures. In the West, we drink to fuel. In Zen, tea becomes a mirror. The flavor doesn't change. You do, because when you move with awareness, time slows. The mundane becomes miraculous. The tea ceremony teaches a truth that can't be spoken. Every moment holds the entire universe. If you know how to pour, what's the difference between drawing a line and drawing a line with your entire being? Zen calligraphy, or shodo, isn't about art, it's about presence. Each brushstroke is final. There's no erasing, no second chances, only now. The brush becomes an extension of breath, the ink, a reflection of mind. If the calligrapher is distracted, the mark will show it. If they are clear, calm, rooted, the line will sing with simplicity. It's the same with Zen rock gardens, like those found at Ryoan-ji in Kyoto. A few stones, a bed of raked sand, that's it. But in those shapes, in that space, something invisible reveals itself. Emptiness is not lack. It is form, waiting to be seen clearly. The garden doesn't symbolize peace. It is peace when you meet it with the right eyes. Now let's go somewhere even simpler. The kitchen sink, you're washing a bowl. Water hits your skin. Soap bubbles. Ceramic slips in your fingers. It's nothing, right? And yet, Zen asks, can you wash this bowl with the same care you would offer the universe itself? Can you let the feel of warm water be enough? Can you be so present that nothing else exists? Just your hands, the bowl, the breath. Dogen said it best. When you wash the rice, wash the rice. When you cook the rice, cook the rice. Do not wash the rice while dreaming of enlightenment. Because the bowl is the practice, the soap is the path, the moment is the miracle. Zen shows us that awakening isn't found in special moments. It's found in every moment we stop treating as ordinary. There's no separation between spiritual and mundane, only between distracted and awake. So who is the true Zen master? Not the one sitting cross-legged on a mountain, not the one quoting sutras with a calm voice. The true Zen master is the one who pauses before opening a door, bows to their food in gratitude, feels the wind without naming it, makes eye contact with a stranger, and is fully there. Zen is not an escape. It is a return again and again to this sacred ground beneath your feet, even when you're rushing, even when you're tired, even when you're broken, especially when you're broken, because that's when Zen whispers, There's nothing to fix, only something to feel. So the next time you wash a dish, take a breath, notice the water, watch the soap slide across the surface. And remember, you're not doing the practice, you are the practice. So here we are, no mountaintop reached, no grand secret unlocked, just this moment again, only now maybe. It feels different, because something ancient and simple has been quietly pointing at you this entire time, not to teach you, but to remind you that awakening isn't a light switch, it's a posture, a presence, a return. Zen doesn't want you to become anything. It wants you to see clearly what you've always been, before the world told you to become someone else. Before the labels, before the stories, before the self-image you've been maintaining like a fragile sculpture. Zen says, let it all fall, let the ideas collapse, let the striving dissolve, let the silence grow louder than your inner commentary. Because underneath it all, beneath the noise, beneath the beliefs, beneath the striving, there's something that's never left you. Stillness, awareness, life, unfiltered, not the kind you chase. The kind that's been watching you chase the whole time. This is the heart of Zen. You don't need to believe in anything. You just need to notice everything. Notice the sensation of your breath without trying to control it. Notice the sound of distant traffic without judging it. Notice the way your fingers feel against this very device as you scroll. Zen isn't a goal to reach. It's a way to stand in the world. A way to answer life not with resistance, but with reverence. And the greatest mystery, you can begin at any moment, no ritual, no ceremony, no permission. You could be walking to your car, pouring coffee, arguing with your thoughts. And suddenly, if even for a breath, you wake up, not to something new, but to something so ordinary you forgot how holy it is. This is why Zen endures, why it continues to whisper across centuries, cultures, and languages, because it doesn't need to be updated. It doesn't need to adapt. It only needs to be remembered. So here's the real question, not have you found Zen, but are you willing to stop hiding from it? Maybe you were never separate from truth. Maybe the stillness you seek was never outside you. Maybe all along, enlightenment was waiting in a single breath, just waiting for you to notice. You don't need to go to Japan. You don't need to chant in Sanskrit. You don't need to decode sacred texts. Just wash the bowl. Just sit. Just bow to the moment as it is. That's not the end of the path. It's the beginning you never noticed. If this journey into Zen opened something inside you, if it gave you even a single breath of stillness or helped you see the ordinary in an extraordinary way, support this channel. Click like to let the algorithm know this kind of content matters. Subscribe if you haven't already, because we explore truths like this every single week. Leave a comment with your reflections. I'd love to hear how this landed for you. And most importantly, share this video with someone you care about. A friend, a partner, a family member, because sometimes the right words at the right moment can change the entire way we see reality. Until next time, be still, be awake, be here, because here is all there ever was.